In SCLC news this week, General Colin Powell is remembered for his service as an SCLC board member. Also, jury selection begins in the South Georgia murder case of Aman Abri. And free at-home COVID-19 test kits are available in many states. All this and more right now during our weekly visit with SCLC President and CEO, Dr. Charles Steele Jr.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be with you again, and I'm saddened to hear about the passing and the transition of none other than Secretary of State, former Secretary of State, Mr. Colin Powell. We at SCLC are very familiar and have a relationship of the historicity of this great man, our President Emeritus, late President Dr. Joseph Eckers Lowry, actually went out and recruited Secretary of State Colin Powell to be on our board, our SCLC board of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Secretary Powell was on our board. He was active for several years under the leadership of none other than Dr. Joseph E. Lowry. And we thank God because we had an opportunity to meet with him, to eat with him, and fellowship over the meals that we had at our board meeting. And he was such an outstanding person in the form of a leader, coming right there out of Holland or New York City, going to City College there and get involved with the ROTC. That goes to show that you can start off. You didn't go to a military school right out of high school or West Point or anything like that. He began at City College, ROTC in New York, and the rest is history. One of the greatest leaders America has ever had or known. And we send out our condolences from SCLC and the civil rights community to that degree. Speaking of COVID and the complication that none other than former Secretary of State Colin Powell had in relationship to COVID-19 here in the state of Georgia, and I'm assuming, which I know in other states, free COVID test kits are being made available. And you can get the information right here online, right here with this program that we will make available to you as I speak. We're talking about free COVID test kit that will come directly to your residence, your place of dwelling, and you can actually make sure and keep up to date of your health in terms of this terrible virus or disease that's leaving many of our people in terms of their transition prematurely, to make sure that you are protected. And that's very important. So remember, you can get the link by just tuning in and maintaining and watching this program. Also, I just want to talk briefly about none other than the late Mr. Ahmaud Arbery, who was really very tearfully and terribly gunned down by the Michaels family and assisted by a third person who was following the conspiracy of the killing of this young man. I know the family very well, the Arbery family, and this young man was not doing anything but jogging. Like I walk every day, he was jogging, and I understand he would do it on a regular basis. But there are going to be potentially over 1,000 people that's going to be interviewed to be selected for this jury that is going to be a historical jury in its own right because of the judicial falsifying of the DA and other law enforcement officers. And the young man who's the father himself worked out of the DA office for a period of time. And he and his son, what I consider a first degree, premeditated, because they have seen this young man jogging in the community that was all white prior to this, And it has to be premeditated, a conspiracy in its own right, because of what their mindset was. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to deal with the eradication of racism and prejudice within our society. It can no longer be tolerated. And to think that the U.S. Supreme Court, in gutting Section 4 and Section 5 of the 1965 Voter Rights Act, actually said that they are doing it to relieve us from the protection of the federal government and the right to vote, because racism has been eradicated. That is the most ludicrous, ridiculous type of statement that anyone could make if they are fair-minded thinking people and holistically concerned about all God's children, or the citizenry, the American citizenry of this country. It's just a shame, because America has never been healed. The CDC just came out with a report, a study, scientifically, that said if America is not healed from racism in terms of the transatlantic African slave trade, that it would be transmitted, conveyed from generation to generation. And to think that this system and a group of educators, state leaders throughout this country, saying they don't want the history talk about the historicity of African Americans and the treatment from which we experience, and still are being tormented from the transatlantic African slave trade. We have a problem in this country. I will be in Cleveland, Ohio this weekend, dealing with Sherwin-Williams, and also the fact that we have a young man who's Justin Gibbs, who's in a runoff as well to be mayor of Cleveland, Ohio. And we don't endorse candidates, but as an individual, I can say that this young man, in terms of the historicity of his leadership in the past, and now he's in a runoff to be the mayor of Cleveland, Ohio. It's an opportunity for Cleveland, Ohio to take a stand, to be a leading city, or the leading city, in terms of Sherwin-Williams, that we are also protesting in terms of $1 billion project that Sherwin-Williams is involved in building its headquarters. Always been recognized in Cleveland, Ohio for 155 years. And Cleveland, Ohio is 51% African American. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot allow economic slavery. Cleveland, Ohio is the new Selma, Alabama, in terms of up south and doing what they're supposed to do. Yeah, we know it's up north in terms of the geography of landscaping, but we are all up south or out south or down south, fair-minded thinking white people and fair-minded thinking African American people. We must bring about the diasporas of the transatlantic African slave trade in collaboration. We can never make it without each other. That's what it's all about. And thank God for you. Thank God for SCLC. And thank God for all God's children who want to do the right thing. Love is what love does. Let's love our citizenry and do a better job. Godspeed.
The movement continues, but not without your support. Your membership with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference will help promote the initiatives, programs, and activism of the SCLC. Visit our website to see what we've been doing and join online at nationalsclc.org. Thank you for joining us for today's program.